What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here alongside Josh Davis. We're live. Philadelphia's made another, let's just be real, blockbuster signing as they went ahead and got a linebacker. And guess what? It's the linebacker we all have wanted for years at this point. I mean, geez, the trade deadline this past season, we wanted Devin White. He's now a Philadelphia Eagle. Josh Adam Schefter breaking the news. If I can get it up on the screen here, as you see it there, 1-year deal worth up to $7.5 million with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's cheap. It's a 1-year deal, so you don't have to buy into a bunch of cap space for the next couple of seasons. Absolutely massive. Am I wrong to be most excited about getting a legit linebacker in Philadelphia?
No, not at all. And I mean, heck yeah, come on. If you have not already hit that like button for Devin White coming here, and like you said, I mean, it's for cheap. The fact that it's going to be, I mean, my gosh, we've been talking about it a number of times, like, hey, okay, we've got these great signings, Saquon Barkley, Gardner Johnson, but it was still always, the speculation, okay, who is the linebacker going to be, right? Because we all see the hole, and we're wondering, okay, well, you see Patrick Queen, and granted, okay, you temper expectations. Are you going to get the cream of the crop and get the Patrick Queen? But still, I mean, you see these signings. Azeez Al-Shaair goes somewhere else. Andrew Van Ginkel's more of that hybrid, but he's still going to, and they're just flying off the board. And you're like, okay, well, are we going to get anybody? Or are you just going to draft someone? And now you still could, but oh my gosh, I mean, I'm literally just, I'm in shock. Like, we have Devin White. We were sitting there talking about the possibility for a number of times. And even, on Instagram, whenever it was, like almost a year ago, had sent a message with the Eagle and everything. And like, hey, he'd enjoy being here. But officially, we have a linebacker that we can count on. It's going to be, I mean, it's huge. You have veteran leadership. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's an all-pro, being with Nakobe Dean to teach and groom and everything else. And like we just said, you can draft someone. So this is, it's phenomenal. It is a master class from Howie. He continues to do it up. But, you said it, a few days ago with Gardner Johnson. You were like, this might be, the best free agency period.
This is
I think it is now. It is officially after this move. It's crazy.
Let's just be honest here. He's 26 years old. Anyone wanting to go down below in the comment section saying Devin White is washed does not watch Tampa Bay. As you mentioned, Super Bowl champion. He's a serious leader. He's young. Philadelphia continues to show that they wanted young people on contracts. They got young Gardner Johnson, young Saquon Barkley, young Bryce Huff. Now they're getting 26 is young Devin White. Now, when it comes to Devin White, the size is the big difference here. Nakobe Dean could potentially turn into a good linebacker. Who knows? Injuries have been an issue, but he's a little bit undersized. Devin White is a true linebacker. He's a true middle linebacker. He's the exact size that you want. He's got great speed for being in coverage. He can fill gaps in the run game, and he's a leader. And so whether you keep him for just this one season, you don't extend him after this year, he's going to pour a wealth of knowledge into Nakobe Dean, potentially Zach Cunningham if he ends up coming back, potentially even a young linebacker like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in the draft. This is a can't-lose signing, and I know people are going to try to find flaws with it. They tried to find flaws with Saquon's contract. It was too expensive. Gardner Johnson hates Philadelphia Eagle fans until he gets signed and apologizes to it. Devin White is washed. He's not washed. This is by far... I might be more excited about this than Saquon Barkley simply because the linebacker position is Philadelphia's biggest weakness and has been for a very, very, very long time, minus like one good year of TJ Edwards and Kazir White. And this is Howie Roseman going, you know what? I'm changing. Like, I am going to go all in for 2024 and get positions that I've never spent big money on. $7.5 million. That's more than TJ Edwards got last offseason. Like, he clearly wanted to right the wrong of getting away from TJ Edwards, and this is a massive signing.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal, and I mean, to your point, I think most people would still say this. He did learn his lesson to a certain extent. I would prefer TJ Edwards. I mean, if I'm being honest, prefer TJ Edwards. It depends on, I mean, you see what guys get listed as. It's similar size in terms of listing on the depth chart, so I don't know necessarily about that. I've seen some of the comments as well, and I know, but like Nakobe Dean, I don't know that he's legit 6 foot. He's listed as 6 foot, 230. Yeah. Devin White listed as 6 foot, 237, but still,
Devin White's mentioned it there with, come on.
Right. You could see it on the tape. I think it's fairly obvious, but still, even again, it's like, you know what? He had a little bit of a down year, but also you have some motivation on this side. He's proven. And to your point, it's a 26-year-old. We're not bringing in a 31-year-old washed, linebacker who's clearly doesn't have it anymore. Athleticism is going to be there, and you bring him to this defense. You utilize his athleticism, and like you said too, he can teach and train Nakobe Dean. Plus, I mean, people that are also mentioning it as well. It's like this doesn't knock out or discredit the ability or the fact that you could go draft a linebacker.
At all.
So don't like. there's people that say, oh, hey, Adrian Cooper, is that a chance? Or what? He's still a legit chance. Name your linebacker. That's still a legit chance in the draft. So yeah, I'm totally with you. This is nothing but a positive. I don't know why you try to spin it as a negative saying he's washed anything else. I mean, heck, look at our linebacker room. Stop saying Devin White is a bad choice. Any signing is a good signing at this point. So I'm sorry. Like, I get the point. You want to go look at PFF grades, take those with a grain of salt as well. Again, it matters what team you're going on. I think this is a total rejuvenation. This is insane. Like, really, I'm at a loss for words. The fact that he went and spent on linebacker, like you said, was not willing to pay TJ Edwards $6.5 million and going to pay $7.5 million for Devin White. So, you could say, sure, it would have been better on last offseason, but at least he's still correcting himself. He's saying, you know what, fine, we're going to spend on linebacker. We're going to get this thing done. And if you questioned already, like, we were kind of debating this, I guess, previous shows and everything else, but like, he's fully all in. Howie Roseman is going all in on that. I mean, look at the signings that he's doing. This is not a hold back, anything like that. Okay, hey, we got a hole here at linebacker. Great, let's get him. CJ Gardner Johnson, sure, bring him back. Bygones be bygones, bring him back. Saquon Barkley, you want your stud running back? Let's do it. And I think it also speaks to the coordinators getting the players that they want, right? Because like Kellen Moore was wanting Saquon Barkley. Yep. Fangio gets a voice too. Who do you want? Who do you like? Especially the guys that are available there. I don't know how you spin this as a negative. I know we got super chats to get to as well, but I'm so hyped about this. This is great.
Ben Decker with a 5. He says, GM of the year, it's not even close. Linebackers running back for the first time. True. True Eagles fans, I'm actually excited. Howie is a wizard. Peyton Hall with 5 more. Where did you rank the Birds' defense right now? I don't think it's fully finished. I think we have to go ahead and wait and see what the draft looks like. I mean, if they add a superstar cornerback in terms of like a Quinyon Mitchell in the draft, that's going to make a big difference. If you get an Edgerrin Cooper at some point in the draft or a Jeremiah Trotter Jr., that makes a difference. But just with these 3 signings on defense, he hit 1 at each level. He got a pass rusher, he went ahead and got a linebacker, and he went ahead and got a safety. Now, linebacker and safety were massive needs. Right now, pass rusher isn't as big of a need because technically Reddick and Josh Sweat are on your roster, although I think Reddick is going to stay based on reports that have been kind of floating out there in the ether. Maybe talk about that a little bit later. If Sweat leaves, but if you keep Huff and Reddick, adding Devin White, healthy Nakobe Dean, CJ Gardner Johnson, plus 9 draft picks, it's a top 10 defense. I mean, truly, it's a top, plus a Fangio competent defensive coordinator who is not Matt Patricia, who just can't coach for whatever reason, and is not apparently Sean Desai, who is afraid of his players being a little bit, up in his face, according to reports we read this offseason. This is really good. It's a top 10 defense on paper. Obviously, on paper is the key there. We will not know until they play. But right now, it's pretty good. Andrew says, Howie's standing on business. Go Birds, draft Cooper. I'm still fine with drafting Edgerrin Cooper. I don't think anyone's saying no.
Yeah,
now extend Smitty and Reddick, the cap space. That should cap free agency. I would have traded Josh Sweat, Kenny Gainwell, one of our 5th and 3rd for Arizona 2nd-round pick, and Budda Baker. Yeah, well, that's, putting your GM hat on. I do think the Smitty extension will come. I wouldn't worry about that. $7.5 million is not a lot of money in terms of this year, and it's zero money next year. And so the money you can work out for Smitty is pretty easy. A couple more super chats here. Let's get
to your point, real quick, just on the Smitty thing, to your point, it's like this year also, it doesn't really impact you. So I think it is going to happen. But again, it's the extension. If anything, it saves a little bit of money this season, but it doesn't impact the cap on that side. So, I'm sure it's even, hey, Smitty, or tell your agent, Smitty, we're going to get something done, but it doesn't need to be main priority right now. So, yeah.
Terrence Perry with a 20. He says, it's party time. Give it all respect. Doggone it. EAGLES. Eagles. Hashtag Howie season. I love that. At a 50 from iShine 101, he says, they say he's washed. Not. He's been disgruntled with the organization, and I feel slacked on purpose to get cut. Now, with White playing for the next bag, he's going to ball out, and TJ Edwards was great at filling the hole, but couldn't cover a bed. That is a big difference. Devin White is great in coverage. Devin White, you go back to the Super Bowl year with Tom Brady. I know it's a little while ago, but, I mean, he was all over Rob Gronkowski in that Super Bowl. I mean, that was, or not Rob Gronkowski, excuse me. He was all over Travis Kelce in that Super Bowl. Those things, Kelce still got his. But either way, he's a fantastic cover linebacker, and the wealth of experience that he can now share with Nakobe Dean. Imagine if he can turn Nakobe Dean into a legitimate starter. I mean, seriously, if he can turn Nakobe Dean into a legitimate starter, then you get 2 linebackers for the price of 1 at $7.5 million. Like, it's unbelievable how that works. So we appreciate that.
Really
50. Let's go with Darth here. It's this, is this 1-year prove-it deal since he had a down year? Yes, it is. Exactly. Again,
that's the point that we're making, right? I mean, you were kind of alluding to it as well. It's like, you're not getting into it long-term. And I hear people, like, hey, yes, you could go watch some film on him. But again, I'll come back to the main initial point of this. Name a better linebacker on this roster. You can't.
Yep.
There's not a better linebacker. There's not a better one with a resume. There's not a better one with an intensity, a passion, a fire. And we want to talk about the Eagles had no identity. Like, the only identity we had last season was a rollover, get pushed around, and, take whatever you want. Like, that's what it turned into. So even if you want to say he's a little bit down, I'm sorry, but you drastically improved this team if for nothing else, just immediately on the intensity, emotion, fire, leadership, and everything else there.
Yep.
You talk Devin White, CJ Gardner Johnson, Bryce Huff, and like you talked about too, Hassan Reddick, possibility there, or whoever else you might add. This defense has a swag now to it. And so that is a huge factor too. Don't just knock at it or look at, say, hey, stats-wise, coverage, grading, all this other stuff. It will be better. But again, it comes back to the just character and mentality and, honestly have some emotion and passion there. And that's going to be drastically different this season. It's going to be phenomenal.
Let's go back to the Super Chats here. Green Dream says, I feel after this sign, one of our top 2 picks should be a corner because we truly have freedom to do so. That is a great point. You have a lot of freedom. You don't need a safety. You don't need a pass rusher, technically, although you could get another one. You don't need a linebacker now. Mm-hmm. You can go get the best cornerback in the draft. And guess what? You have 9 picks right now. If you trade Sweat or Reddick, you get a couple of more, maybe a couple more picks. You can move up in the draft and get the best corner, which is probably Quinyon Mitchell. And, throw him into a secondary now that is going to be night and day better. It's going to be night and day better than what it is or what it was this past year. And I'm pumped. Howie has full freedom to do whatever he wants in the draft now because he decided that free agency was the time to go make moves. And one final point here, Josh, before we get back to the Super Chats, he is not overpaid for anybody but maybe Saquon Barkley. The Saquon Barkley contract, you can go, okay, It's a little bit expensive, but you're still only a $3.9 million cap hit this season, and it's not necessarily a crazy long-term dead cap hit either. Gardner Johnson was on a massive discount versus what he wanted this past season. Bryce Huff, by all intents and purposes, is very, very cheap, $18 million a year versus Reddick wanting $25. And now you get Devin White, who, I remember this time last year, they were talking about a Devin White contract extension over $20 million. Patrick Queen got an insane bag, and I know he's probably a little bit worse than Patrick Queen, maybe, although there's arguments that Roquan Smith made Patrick Queen who he was. But you paid $7.5 million for a linebacker who has a serious resume and is only 26 years old.
Totally. I completely agree with you. That's a great point that you bring up because, again, like you're talking about, if you rewind, if you go back to, I'm struggling because I'm literally like in shock right now. But if you go back last season and say, how much would it cost to get a Devin White? It's going to be a lot more expensive. So yes, the market's changed, and sure, again, you could say the little bit of the downside, but I'm sorry, there are way too many positives. If you're negative about this, we'll prove you wrong, I suppose, but I'm still just curious of where you're going to be coming from because there was not a better option out there and how he's making this thing work. You talk about the group and the team dynamics of it as well. And also, to the point of drafting, I love it. You can go after a corner. We've talked about it a number of times. Quinyon Mitchell will be fantastic, but it is such a deep class. So whoever comes to you, if it's Kool-Aid McKinstry at 22 seems to be pretty realistic based on recent mock drafts, but also, again, you can still very easily at 50 get your linebacker. Like if you want another guy to groom, because this is a 1-year deal. Okay, cool. You know what? A perfect scenario for me. I got Devin White, got Nakobe Dean to learn from him, draft an Edgerrin Cooper. He doesn't have to come in and play immediately, but he can learn behind Devin White. And, oh, great, fantastic. We have depth, which we didn't have either. So if you have someone who get injured, all of a sudden Edgerrin Cooper can come in and play too. It's a win-win scenario. I'm sorry, you can't prove it to me or argue and say this is a negativity. There's no way.
Well, obviously people are going to throw out his PFF grades. I already got people tagging me on Twitter about that and the fact that he was 4th worst against the run out of all linebackers in the league this past season. His best year was 2020, so obviously he's had his best year overall. But again, he's not 30. Imagine if Devin White was 30 years old, we'd be having a completely different conversation. We'd be praying for one more good year. If you're 26 and you go into a defense, Vic Fangio loves his linebackers and puts you in a position to win, and you have the skill set that Devin White has, come on, this is a really, really good signing. Now, Matthew Bear says, with a 20, appreciate that, since he was so cheap, think we should have signed him longer? No, because again, he's not the number one linebacker in the league. He's not Patrick Queen going into free agency, so doesn't need a long-term deal. If he balls out this year, then sure, you're going to have cap space next season. You go ahead and get, a 2-year, 3-year deal done, and that solves the long-term issue. But this, again, a 1-year deal tells me Howie will still get a linebacker in the draft to do exactly what Josh just said, and that is have not only depth, but also somebody who can sit back and learn behind Devin White, who's a Super Bowl champ, and again, at one point, a couple of years ago, was considered maybe the best linebacker in football or one of the top 5 linebackers in football. So, okay.
Yep.
Right lot more
Shout
super chats
out to
here.
Lar Powell, too. Gifted 5 memberships, too. So, congrats to Ben Smith, Big Trag, Legamy, Nate, and, I guess mine actually got it on the other one. So, yes, but congrats to those that got the membership. Heck yeah.
Uriel, I think that's how you say that name, says we should go still sign another linebacker or safety. I think we're set and ready for the draft. If we get Quinion in the first, Adrian Cooper in the second, Super Bowl bound. That would be the perfect draft. I mean, genuinely, like all Eagle fans who have studied the draft even 5%, if you told them right now you can get Quinion Mitchell and Adrian Cooper 1-2, people would, bleep their pants. It'd be unbelievable. It would be such a huge draft pick.
Phenomenal.
It'd be crazy.
Or as Tyler Wallace, shout out to Tyler because I saw him the other day, hadn't seen him in a while, but he's here, says Terry and Arnold would be the best fit inside and out. I'd be fine with that too.
Sure.
Hey, again, there's so much depth here. I got to ask you a question though, as well, because you were talking about, linebackers, situational, right? And also for a short-term deal, right? A 1-year deal with Devin White. To me, and this is, knee-jerk immediate reaction. This is what we're here for. But it almost signifies to me that you're more guaranteed that Howie's going to draft a linebacker early because you're not investing long-term in Devin White, right? So you're saying
exactly
this is short-term, but you go with a linebacker in that sense would be.
I totally agree.
My thought.
I 100% agree. And again, had you went out and signed Patrick Queen, we'd be praising it. We'd be going crazy. Patrick Queen was the best linebacker, obviously, in this class. But you draft Patrick Queen, then say goodbye to Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Like, you're not going to get him. You're not going to get Adrian Cooper because why would you spend a second-round draft pick, their projected area in that draft, to go back up or battle Nakobe Dean, who, again, the organization feels like Nakobe Dean, if he can stay healthy, can be really good. They put a lot of faith in him this past training camp and thought he was by far the best linebacker on this roster during training camp until the injuries started to add up, and a little lackluster early on in the season, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, this is a very, very impressive get, and it shows you, and I think Saquon spoke about this today at his press conference. We'll talk about it on our shows tomorrow. Saquon wanted to be an Eagle. Like, Saquon had offers. Bryce Huff wanted to be an Eagle. Bryce Huff had the Commanders, who probably threw more money, the Giants, who very clearly had more money just with what they gave to go ahead and get Brian Burns, and he said he wanted to be an Eagle because he wants to win. Winning on Sunday is a big deal. Some of these guys haven't won a lot. Now, Devin White has, but CJ Gardner Johnson obviously did this past season. Saquon Barkley hasn't. Bryce Huff hasn't. Aaron Rodgers got hurt. These people want to win. And right now, whether it's Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni or the other people in this locker room, free agents want to be in Philadelphia because you can't tell me that other teams weren't going for majority of the guys that Philadelphia got.
No, and that's a great point you bring up. It also is incredibly important, and I know we know this, but it's incredibly important the coordinators that you got because, again, if it had been hey, we had a really bad year and all the reports and everything else, the locker room, the culture, just is strange vibes.
Yep.
And you had said, nah, we're going to hang on to Brian Johnson and we'll figure it out, whether it's decide kind of coming back into that role or keep Matt Patricia there, who knows. These guys would not have been as keen to get there, but you get a proven Vic Fangio. Guys know that he's going to be really good and you're going to be coached well. Now, there's some polarizing sides, sure, for the guys that are not as invested or want to give time and effort, but you hear just as many positives of saying, hey, if you want to get better at ball and you want to know ball, Vic Fangio is your guy. So you get in that defensive system, you want to play for him, and same thing for Kellen Moore. I mean, you got a CeeDee Lamb who's willing to say, oh yeah, like the receivers in Philly, they're going to love it. It's going to be fantastic. So you get guys who want to come in that situation. And, again, Saquon, it's a pricey one, but it also makes sense too, because look at the contracts that some of these receivers are getting. Like Saquon's deal, if you're going to use him as a playmaker and you're saying, hey, he can catch the ball out of the backfield and hopefully, again, we didn't utilize it last season, but you have Kellen Moore, so it should be different, but you utilize him out of the backfield and you take advantage of the mismatches. Again, it's a masterclass from Howie. He's having a fantastic free agency, probably the best ever. I don't know where you want to argue against that. Let's also say, just temper expectations. No one's going overboard here because we know what happens when we say dream team or anything else.
No, we're not going to say that.
No, but still, like right now, from what we came from and now where this team is at, it is a drastic difference. We're on the right direction. We're trending upwards, but you still got the work to do with the still more offseason, honestly, and draft and everything else. But I would say, again, this is you really couldn't wish for anything better. You're going to fix the defense, fix the offense, add some pieces, and get that leadership and that mantra just changed because you didn't have that dog in you. And now you do with these with these additions. It's going to be fantastic.
Kelly Green Batman with a 5 says, can't wait for the CJ White defense. What do you think of the Barkley tampering deal? I think it's much to do about nothing. We talked about that both on our shows today. So you missed our shows a little bit earlier. Be sure to go ahead and find out the answer to that. But it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Austin Harris says, so excited for all this. Howie never ceases to outdo himself. Wishing you and your family's absolute best from out here in Utah. Shout out to Utah.
Appreciate
Utah's
that.
great. We appreciate that, Austin. We go over here to Big Eric, who's got 2. All we need now is Rager on a 1-year proof-it deal. I don't know about that. I don't know where that came from. I'm kind of out on the old.
He's in New England anyway, but no.
Yeah,
no,
yeah. Have fun with whoever the quarterback is over there. Probably a rookie. Thoughts on the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl, says Waffles. I think it's a guarantee. No, who knows? Who knows? Listen, okay. It's so funny how
not get ahead of
works,
ourselves,
Josh.
but yeah.
It's so funny because, one, you signed Devin White, you signed Saquon Barkley, you signed all these players, and what do you want us to do? Do you want us to sit back and be like some people on Twitter and say, oh, Devin White wasn't that good last year, and Saquon's a little bit expensive, and CJ, I guess he got hurt with the Lions? Or do you want us to be excited about our football team? You want to be excited? You could be the Dallas Cowboys right now, who have done this much in an all-in season. Take your pick. Now, listen, Dallas might be, I don't know, saving some money. They got to, pay their quarterback. Which would you rather be doing right now? This with the Philadelphia Eagles and this roster, or sitting back and doing nothing with the Cowboys, convincing yourself that we don't really want to spend money on Devin White because he's not that good? Come on. It's ridiculous.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah, obviously.
Do you want me to be excited or not?
It's a no-brainer. Come on. Yeah, you can be pessimistic if you want to, but I'm sorry. There's a clear-cut difference when, and heck, I mean, everyone has, some Dallas friends or acquaintances or even enemies, honestly, and you can see what they're saying. But look at the reaction. That's the best part. That's how you know, because they're literally sitting there going like, are you kidding me? For real? Like, we can't sign one person, and Philly's getting Saquon, and they're getting CJ Gardner Johnson, and they're going to get Devin White, and they're just accumulating all these players. And they didn't even say all in. Our guys said that we're going to have an all in season. It's great. It's just icing on the cake. I mean, it's the cherry on top. It's perfect.
Okay, quickly. We got 3,600 people watching. Obviously, first live as we always are with the biggest news. We only have 600 likes. If you've not hit the thumbs up button, you're excited about this.
Baby.
Thumbs
we
up.
Can get to 1,000.
I think we easily can get to 1,000. If you're not subbed, all of you people who are watching are probably people who have subscribed because you're on this. I mean, the first 10 minutes that we went live, but you haven't hit that sub button yet, hit the red button. We'd greatly appreciate that. We'll go back to the super chats here. Bryce Hayes says, guys, I wish I could get behind this signing. Devin White is a household name, just not that good of a player anymore, fellas. Okay, now that's a fair argument. You can go through the statistics and you can make that argument. But the counter argument is, who would you rather have? Zach Cunningham? Nicholas Morrow? Injured Nakobe Dean? Now you say, well, just draft Edgerrin Cooper. Okay, but if you want to win a Super Bowl, do you want your middle linebacker to be a rookie? Do you want your number one linebacker to be a rookie? That's the thinking here. He's $7.5 million. If this was 15, we could make a serious conversation about giving Devin White $15 million a year. 7.5 is nothing. It's chump change for a team that had $44 million and probably still has around 20 left once all the deals are done for Saquon and CJ and Bryce Huff. I mean, come on. I get it. He is not perfect. He's not 2020, newly drafted Devin White who was taking the league by storm. Is he better than what you have? Yes.
For sure. Without a question. Without a doubt. Yeah. And again, he can find another gear, right? Like, this is still what we were talking about, 26. A 26-year-old. So it's not a Shaq Leonard signing where we're going, well, hopefully, maybe, but he hasn't shown any ability ever in a single game to be able to show anything to have confidence of, oh, hey, maybe he'll get back to or return to that form. There's still glimpses and flashes. Now, yeah, you want to look at statistically and gradings and all that other stuff. But again, like we mentioned there, it's a short-term answer. He's signing to 1 year. It's not a large investment. It's going to be structured team-friendly too. It's 7.5, but you're going to talk about incentives and look at the cap hit and guaranteed and all the other things on that side. So it'll be great. And the biggest point that you mentioned, and we talked about it a second ago as well, is like, it's going to lead to drafting a linebacker. It's almost a given. You have so little invested long-term in a linebacker situation where you say Nakobe can learn from it, and you go take your pick in the draft. And that could be your long-term answer. If Devin White balls out and he has great, maybe you sign him, but you probably don't even have to because you get your guy in the draft. Again, I'll keep coming back to it. It's a win-win scenario to me because the alternative we don't even have to say the names anymore, but we all know the names.
Yep.
It doesn't get better than that. So yes, it is good news. Shout out to everybody that's joining here that's answering on the poll. We've got an A+ is what Howie's grading is so
What
far.
A surprise. What a surprise.
Yeah, that's not kind of a given.
Let's go to Cisco Jr. Says, can't wait to see my effing Birds next season at TFG. If you were wondering if the season tickets were going to be down a little bit, even though they've been sold out for like the next decade or at Lincoln Financial Field, they're going to be pretty darn good.
That is true. We're going to be at the games, but they're going to be a little pricier now. That is for sure.
Squeaky says we have much better veteran coordinators or players who perform at a much higher level than last year. I totally agree. They have gotten better at every single level, and they've addressed every single hole that you possibly could have. Matthew Bear, would you trade our first-round pick for PS2? I would. I think most people would. Problem is Denver's not getting rid of Patrick Surtain. That's a very bleak roster as is. They have the money to spend on him, even with the Russell Wilson, cap hell that they're in. They're not going to trade him. I would be very interested in Justin Simmons on a one-year prove-it deal because he remains unsigned, and I think his market was a little bit less than what he originally wanted. That hasn't happened yet. Will it happen? I don't know. I didn't think Devin White was going to happen, and I'm eating dinner 20 minutes ago, and Josh texted me that Devin White happened, and obviously I have to wait to have dinner now. So, it is what it is.
It's happened, I think, on both. The previous signing was when you were fixing lunch, and this
the
time
second I start making dinner, they sign people. It's ridiculous.
You should just, anytime we need a signing, now that's the trick. You just got to start making a meal. So that's
all right. Ben Decker here. I feel like I'm playing a game of Madden, making a roster like this. Fly goes fly. Let's go. It does kind of feel like a game of Madden.
Madden's going to be fantastic. I mean, like the team we're already hyped about, but good gosh, you talk about all the additions and getting the guys here. That's going to be unreal.
Duran says, CJ Gardner Johnson, new Agent Zero. No, that's Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff gets the Agent Zero number. So, got to like that. How about Dirty Air? Says, my favorite part of this week is watching the fans of the teams the players came from come to all the Eagle YouTubers live streams and cry. Yeah, that was the Giants fans on Monday. That's what that was.
That is one of the best parts of it. It could be negative, when we're streaming the games, and all of a sudden we have people pile on towards the end of the season. But it's great whenever it's good news here.
Great when it's good news.
Yeah. Shout out to Optimus Prime Ribs. The two says, I'm at work right now, so I can't scream "Go Birds." That's
you probably could. Why not?
Just once, just one time. You probably I don't know what line of work you. Maybe you can. But.
Maybe you can. It happens. Bryce Hayes says, didn't think Zach Cunningham was bad last year. It's rather see them trade for a guy or possibly went after a guy like Frankie Louv, excuse me. Yeah, but you don't have to trade away draft capital, right? I mean, that's the beauty of not having to trade away draft capital because now you can go get people in the first 2 second-round draft picks. I mean, they're loaded at draft. So, sure. I mean, listen, I understand he's not perfect, but again, out of the other options that were out there, I'm sure Howie exhausted them, and this was the best idea. And everyone is saying, Howie season, like Tony Cadillac just said there, then you got to trust Howie. You absolutely have to trust Howie. If only his drafting was as good as Capology, acquisition skills could be the new era Patriots. True. If he hadn't missed on Justin Jefferson, Danny Watkins, there's some misses sprinkled in there, but nobody's perfect. And Bill Belichick, he drafted well until he stopped drafting well, and he hasn't drafted well in a very long time, which is why he's not a head coach this year. So,
It happens. It happens to everybody. But yes, again, I would say that the excitement for, because I mean, we've talked about also like the mock drafts we can't do until we start figuring out the squad. You're getting a really good, we're getting close. We're not completely done with the signings, but you're getting very close to, close. Here's the makeup, the solid core of the roster, the foundation. Now you just draft off of it. I'm telling you, It sets up beautifully. I try to speak it into existence as much as possible, as everybody else is too, but it sets up perfectly to get your corner in the draft. That has not happened since Lito Shepherd draft a first-round cornerback and get a stud. I'm so hyped. If that happened, if we draft a corner, again, reminder of people that may not know, we're going to be live during the draft. We're going to be giving away lots of stuff and going crazy when they do draft that corner. But yeah, I'll be going nuts. It'll be insane.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on see if there's any other moves tonight. This sounds like it's probably it for Philadelphia, at least today. Can they make some more moves? The answer is they definitely can. Will they make some more moves? That remains to be seen. But Devin White is a Philadelphia Eagle. We'll stay live for a couple more minutes. If you've not hit the sub button yet, it's red, kind of like Devin White's previous jersey. You hit it down below us. We'd greatly appreciate that because we give you guys the latest and greatest, everything that happens in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles. First to it, as always. That's our promise to you guys. One more super chat here. White played bad last year, but he's only 26. Contract year. He'll want his bag, and his best chance to win a Super Bowl since TB12 will get his best. That's the way I would think about it. I mean, if you want to be glass half full, that's it right there. 26 is the main factor. There are 4 numbers, 2, 6, and 7.5. Those are the best best things that can happen when it comes to this signing because he's cheap, he's young, and he has the ability to go ahead and win a prove-it deal and sign somewhere else for one final big contract, as most people try and do. They want to get that one more 3-4 year deal before you hit the age of 30. Then you ink out one more Derrick Henry type deal with the Ravens, 2 years, $16 million, whatever it is, and then you go ahead and retire. And so he is set up very nicely to go ahead and get a 1 or a 2 or 3 year prove-it deal, off of the prove-it deal, kind of like how C.J. Gardner Johnson kind of lost out, but he's still got a multi-year contract and a lot of guaranteed money. So, it is what it is. Brandon Winston, he says, Howie drafting O-line. He might. It wouldn't be that fun at 22. I don't think he will. I think Tyler Steen was kind of the O-line pick early this past year. I maybe second round, first round pick's not going to be offensive line because I unless there's a guard that falls, I just don't see it. I just do not see it.
I agree with you on the. I agree with you that first round. I really hope, and I'm agreeing, but there's still a part of me that's like, okay, we know how he values the trenches, so it's not impossible. I don't know how they view Tyler Steen. That is the one part. I could see them going a second round with O-line. It's just I'm very hopeful not the first round. I agree. You go other routes, hopefully corner. Maybe it's somewhere else. Even a defensive lineman, honestly, if a defensive lineman falls to 22 or you like where you're at, something like that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's certainly made for quite a bit of excitement with these signings. And I agree also with the last super chat as well. The 26 years old comment.
Big deal.
It sets up perfectly, like you said. How many times, whether it's we watching our teams, just watching the league, or for those that play fantasy, you get a guy on a contract year and it works out well for you because they're playing with extra incentive and they're trying to get that next contract. So this is a win. This is going to be phenomenal. People asking questions of how much cap we have left.
We don't know.
Don't know officially, but like the speculation I think coming to today was somewhere in the 20s. Wasn't that the number? I think I saw it a couple of places, somewhere in the 20s. So after this one, we'll see. But
high teens is what. Yeah,
you'd think somewhere in that range. So there's still room.
Says the Aussie Eagle fan. This Aussie Eagle fan is getting excited over the team, how he's putting together, looking forward to the new season. Aussie, geez, what time is it over there? And what day is it? It's like before or after? I don't even remember.
Oh, yeah, it's
Aussie. I think it's
different
forward.
Now.
I think it's 18 hours
It
ahead.
Is forward, but are they like, what is 6 a.m. or so? Let's see. I'll look it up.
Okay. Well, while you look it up,
11:20.
Okay, a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's much further. I was going to say like 6 a.m.
Let us know who else Howie signs on Friday, and we'll just report it right now. Just let us know.
That's true. That would help.
How about Smack Gaming dropping a $200 super chat, which is the biggest super chat we've ever gotten on a live stream, by the way.
Let's go. Oh, my gosh.
Nothing to bat your eye at. That is insane. He says, currently stationed outside of the time zone. It sounds like you're probably with the military. We appreciate that. But you could be stationed just at a regular job, so you never know. I'm working night shifts, so I get the privilege of getting to see these streams. One question is Justin Fields. Makes too much sense to me as a backup, plus a great at return. Watch both you guys a lot, so thanks a million. You are welcome. We appreciate you. Massive super chat. Josh did a show today on Justin Simmons. I was going to talk about it tomorrow. Do you want Justin Simmons or not? Because he's still available.
Right. And you mean Fields. I know there's Justin Simmons and
Did
Fields.
I say Simmons?
Yes.
Yeah, Fields.
I know
Sorry. The quarterback.
It's I'm totally out on Justin Fields. I've seen back and forth. I can understand some reasonings for it. There's some potential. You could utilize it even for some draft capital and try to trade if that doesn't turn out for you or anything like that. To me, I'm like, you invested so much in Jalen Hurts, and I trust that he's the guy. You trust he's the guy. Just about everyone trusts. I know there's some doubters, but just about everybody trusting that he's the guy. You're going to see improvements. You went and got this offensive coordinator, this different coaching staff changes to impact Jalen. So to me, like Justin Fields coming in here, it doesn't, maybe I'm crazy. To me, Justin Fields coming in here does not make the team better, like in the short term. If anything, it creates confusion, some locker room drama potentially, and you're kind of hoping in the long run that it ends up serving you well. To me, I'm like, no, go get a veteran. They tried to sign Joe Flacco and it didn't work out because he wanted to go to Indy. But that's where I would prefer. Go get a guy who is willing to come in as a QB2 and can groom Jalen, not really threatening to him either, but like, hey, I've been there, done that. I can teach you, I can help you, but I'm here just to kind of serve it essentially. And I'm not trying to get my next contract or be the guy, be the QB1. That's why I say I'm out. there's a lot of other questions too. I mean, the work ethic, he said everyone slips up, but I'm sorry, as polished as Jalen is, Fields is like the exact opposite. Look at press conferences and, blaming the coaches and kind of whatever, so there's lots of reasons. I know accuracy, you could say similar with Jalen, he had issues, but I don't know, because we're all speculating. I get that, we're not there every day knowing the person, knowing the player, his work ethic and all the other stuff, but it's just like from what you read and hear, it seems like a drastic difference from how Jalen approaches the game and what he does to Justin Fields. And so, again, I would say for all those reasons, I guess as a Shark Tank, I'm out.
I echo it, just because it's Philadelphia, and I was out on Jalen coming with Carson Wentz because it would create drama. It did. Thankfully, it turned out to be the right move, but it's a lot of drama for me, especially when you're trying to go all in, like the Eagles have very clearly seemingly wanted to do. And I like Tanner McKee. If you watched the preseason last year, we all like Tanner McKee. So, Andrew Nathan, he's $2. Imagine Howie drafts a corner at 22 and linebacker at 50. That would be the dream. If anyone has a personal link to Howie Roseman, just tell him to do that, and he's going to be like forever crowned as the greatest GM, maybe one of the most pivotal figures in Philadelphia sports history. So it's very simple.
You could get that. Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
Howie's going upstate to do Fed time after his latest heist. Go Birds. Yeah. Listen, Tad Prescott, Dak's brother, he said it right. He said the Eagles have the number one front office, and Tad Prescott is he's not wrong. He's probably my favorite Prescott if I had to pick one. But I think that he is 100% accurate in terms of that.
Yeah, talk about drama, actually. Not that we're getting into it, but just there's other things going on. There are a
lot of things happening on with the Dallas Cowboys right
Dallas now. In the local radio that I'm. It's just very, very interesting, all the drama. Real quick, there was a question that we were talking about the QBs.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite QB2 out there? I know we talk about like maybe a veteran, someone they could bring in, just any name out there that you're eyeing or see as a realistic possibility. I know Easton Stick is a name because he's been with Kellen Moore, but is there anybody out there?
I think if they were going to sign Easton Stick, they would have probably already done it by now. It's just kind of weird that, besides the Kellen Moore thing, I think Ryan Tannehill makes some sense if you really want that security. I just don't think it makes sense for Ryan Tannehill. I think Tannehill wants to be at a place where he can actually compete, kind of how Russell Wilson goes to Pittsburgh because he can actually compete with Kenny Pickett to win the starting job. Other than that, Tyler Huntley, because he has a lot of experience. Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley, by the way. It's very serious to put that in front of their Pro Bowler.
It's always the
Tyler
great
Huntley.
part about that.
Yeah, I'll look at the rest of the names here. Brian Hoyer, Josh Dobbs, Easton Stick, Nate Sudfeld, Blaine Gabbert, Carson Wentz is a free agent, Kyle Allen, Trevor Siemian, A.J. McCarron. Felipe Franks. It's right now. Garoppolo is, but Garoppolo's the same way. He wants to go somewhere where he has a chance to actually play. So for me, it's Huntley or Easton Stick. But again, I don't hate Tanner McKee. I don't think he's terrible, but I do understand the idea that you need to have a solid backup because Nick Foles' name has entered the chat because obviously you need, to have, the backup in case something were to happen. And so an established starter like Tannehill would make the most sense for us, but does Tannehill want to do it on a $5 million Marcus Mariota contract? Probably not.
True. I agree. Yeah. I was just curious. I've thrown out a couple names. Seems like Easton Stick is sure. Because of, the ties to Kellen Moore, that would seem possible, but you need it. It's not anything drastic, but again, totally out on the Justin Fields. That's a no-brainer to me.
Me too. I'm totally in on Philadelphia going out and signing an unbelievable move here late on a Saturday, or whatever it is, Thursday evening, in terms of getting Devin White. We'll mention it one final time before we wrap up here. They have officially signed Devin White. It's a one-year deal, $7.5 million. Sure. Is he perfect? No. Is he 26? Yes. Is he cheap? Yes. Those are all good things. Is he a leader? Yes. Is he better than what we have? Yes. Will he look good in Kelly Green? Hell yeah, he's going to look good in Kelly Green. So we are pumped, and we're pumped that you guys hung out with us. We appreciate 3,800 at its peak here for this live stream. Again, it's our promise to you. First people live every single time they make a big signing. That's been the case the entire week. If they do any sort of more moves, Justin Simmons, please, that'd be very fun. We'll be ready to rock for it. We're monitoring our cell phones more than we would like to admit. So we are on Twitter getting ready for the latest thing that are going to happen. So our wives and fiancés hate us for it, but what are you going to do? We're trying to, we're trying to do it for you guys, right?
It comes with the territory. It's the time of year, right? So, there's going to be a lull at some point. But, it's fun. Lack of sleep and everything else. But we got our guy. We got a linebacker.
There you go. They have a linebacker, and we sign off. For Josh Davis, Philly Special Show, I'm Thomas Mott. We'll see you guys in the next one. Go Birds, as Josh says.
Go Birds.